So the whole labor and delivery, so you just get a bird's eye view. One of the things that really doesn't happen until the very end is the crossing over. If you really see a baby doing where the objects are crossing over, that's not a good sign in the womb. So babies are more like this, but they don't cross midline kind of thing. And they shouldn't be in a position, again, too, they might go to the sucking, but there's no rotation in the womb. And so that's the one thing that I find is wrong with a lot of the animations. They get a little bit carried away with, like, look who's talking, like as if it happened, right? So as that baby starts to come down, and notice how they don't even care what the body's doing, but see how the subtle rotation is coming into play here. Mm-hmm. And as they're supposedly dropping into the canal. See the rotation? Yeah. They're starting to show it a bit more with the mom actually doing it, but but what happens here now is, again, they're acting like that child's not moving at this point. At this point, he's active. So the relationship where the doula comes in and the doctor comes in, I find this is where the doctor sort of like is usually there when you're fully dilated. Yeah. But if that head stays way too long in there, well, kind of things. I have one client, her pelvic floor crushed the kid's skull. Oh. You know what I mean? And he's in horrific shape because of it with long term. He's, 2 steps away from vegetative. So, but again, they're talking about the mom. Obviously, now the mucus plug is going to go, and this is all in a perfect world kind of thing. I might have to go to another video to see if I can show a bit more of the baby, but this one I like because it's sort of if my mucus plug's dropping, you think I'm not calling the doctor? I mean, the fact that people are like or somebody. So here. So now the baby's coming into play. He still hasn't, quote, rotated yet, but we are all set up almost like a safe-is or a turnkey notching. So a baby really has to come out a certain way for the head to come out of the vaginal canal. Now, if you want to jump in with more anatomy than I am, I just really... Yeah. But you see, again, how everything gets all involved as a system. There's no pieces and parts here. Do you see how the system is more of that transfer weight? Now the head's going to start coming out, obviously the crowning. This is where doctors can get a little bit excited, kind of thing, and decide whether they want, how they want to quote, pull out the kid. So, but we were born for centuries without someone there catching us, really. So there, see how the skulls work? This is why I like this animation, because they kind of show how things kind of separate and go out. Oh, yeah. See the skull? See the jaw?
Oh, yeah. All the way down there.
Yeah. Now, what I don't believe any reflex pattern's natural to the human body.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Everyone says that's not true. It's a suck reflex. However, do you know when you pull a cork out of a bottle, what happens? The vacuum. That's where the strike comes from. That's why I think that the kids with vaginal delivery are easier off with feeding. Because they get that vacuum off the top of the palate and this tongue strikes. You're not going to get that in a C-section delivery, especially when it's a butt first. And that's why I think C-section kiddos have a harder time of eating. They like to equate that to drugs, which also could be it. But this is where the type of birth really comes into play. But see how this child, this is what I see more. This is what I see more. I don't like to see this so much in the womb as I do more of that kind of crossover. But again, people that animate, they don't know to animate what a good pregnancy is versus a bad one. So that's why. So there, right there.
Yeah.
Right? But now you're starting to see now more why. Just that presentation of first-hand experience. Forget that there's lights on, but just the way of again, coming in, assisting that child versus,
fooling their head.
And the doctor's not having ATMs. I mean, when I'm working with your head, I specifically know I would rather work with you with my right hand. Now, you wouldn't know the difference, but I know that my right hand can offer just that detail that the left hand, it's good. It's much better than probably the average Joe is, but, you know. Oops.
I want to twist the base's knee.
So they don't try to turn the baby face up before they come out?
They can't, because otherwise they'll get stuck in the vagina. That's why I'm saying, that's why I started looking at this.
Yeah.
Why are we all built the same way? We were built with rotation.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to put this on again, just so you can see it just in full motion.
I mean, in Call the Midwife, they always have their face coming, looking up the ceiling when they come out.
Well, once
They're born with their head face down, but then they turn.
the baby turns.
The baby turns.
The baby
Right,
turns,
the baby
because
turns.
the
But how
way
far
that-
they turn? That's
But
my
the
question.
weight, well, that's the thing is, now if you have a low birth
Yeah.
weight baby versus a heavy baby,
Yeah.
this is where all these
So a
kind of
bigger baby's
equations.
stuck or
Oh, don't
pelvic
move as
Right,
Or
like
the
my son had a
different-
14 and a half inch head. What do you
Yeah.
think he's getting pulled a little bit? Probably harder to get out than,
Yeah.
you know.
So that's
Versus
all
an underweight, a
variation.
preemie baby might not even get this rotation
Right.
because literally they're just like falling right out of the vaginal canal. One of my babies, she's twins, was born at 27 weeks. Literally the mom thought she was just having, because she had amnio issues because
Yeah.
of two separate sacs. And they did, they took out some of the fluid on the one baby, put her into labor. She didn't know it. She's on all fours. Mackenzie just fell in between her legs. I mean, just fell out of her. Nurse came in and she's like, she didn't want to look. She thought her baby was dead. She-
Oh, jeez.
But it's almost like a notching system. So if a baby were to come out, let's say where he was looking up,
Yeah.
he's not going to fit out of that. That rotation
Yeah.
has to happen.
Yeah.
So I believe that rotation is meant to happen to stimulate the brain to now learning from its environment. I believe that rotation is key.
Yeah.
Because that's why every baby is meant to go through this. It doesn't matter if you're purple, green, whatever, as a parent. You know, it's just... So, imagine if we all only look like that. But I just, like I said, I just think that's fascinating how...
Yeah, like-
Again, so now if you're not rotating out, look what it's doing to your skull placement right off of that.
see then the shoulders.
Then they
this
birth the
way.
shoulder and then they pull them out.
Yeah.
Because I know they suction right while you're right there. The
Yeah,
shoulders
they're
come out and then they're doing suctioning right there, right?
It all
They
depends.
No, they do all kinds
They
of
sh-
stuff.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
They used to suction right there, but now
Yeah.
they wait a little bit. They
uh-huh.
should. And
They should.
So that's...
Yeah, beautiful.
So now C-section. I love it how they now say sample use only. So now the baby's usually a lower weight because they're taking a C-section. Unless it's an emergency, they're waiting. They're usually doing it 2 weeks prior.
do you want sound that?
Well, we could, but just unplug it and move it around. That would be great. But I figured I can always go back and add the video.
add it. Oh,
but,
okay.
But it's up to you.
At least, yes.
So again, this is showing the rotation coming out of the pelvic floor.
Do you need where I am?
No. See, again, they don't have this baby per se crossing over. It's just... I believe in the womb you're meant to expand in all directions. That's the whole premise of being there. So when the cord's wrapped around, already they're having issues with that expansion. Now, every time already, that baby's learning, if the cord's wrapped around the neck, if I move, not even so much swallow or whatever, yeah, can you imagine? Isn't this cool, though, to see it? I don't know if you guys have done this or not. However, notice how they're not saying for cosmetics. So many people now are like, they get their nails done, they put their makeup on, they have a C, and they do the the pictures.
Or they just think, oh, it's safer, just cut it out. And it's like, it's not a safe procedure. That's an illusion.
My concern is more so here where I've seen, because we have a children's hospital, complications. They air vac the baby off to PCH. Now you got mommy over at Banner, and you've got, so.
Yep.
Sorry about all of this stuff, but. So they're showing, a quote, a nice little incision and all of that. So, but again, look where they're putting the incision. So that one means with this one, they're probably going to go butt first. I guess we'll just wait. So yeah. So they're just grabbing in and grabbing apart. How would you like to be born like that? So look, what's the last thing to come? So
The
because
direction is all wrong, yeah, with your body, yeah.
so look at the difference of that kind of delivery coming in versus, and see there's no, and now they're just showing you quickly how to birth the placenta and then clean her up. But there's no regards to the baby. It's all on where's a good incision point, because a preterm baby is not going to be in position. It hasn't.
No, of
it
course
hasn't
not.
presented head first. It hasn't gone into those things. So, and yeah, breastfeed. Get out of bed. No. So again, that's what I'm saying. I think that vacuum is really important. So the last thing the child's getting is this, especially if it's here. So it's not getting, the palate formation is different. All of those things would be different to nurse a child. And also the chances are that the neck didn't set up. So that's where you get a lot of these kids who, I think arch their heads back a lot because that's a movement they know it. They didn't come out going, hi. You know what I mean? They've if you've yanked their neck back to that kind of thing. So those are two main different considerations. So to know the type of birth, not only that it was the vaginal birth though, but no drugs. And now this is drugs. Now I can't find the one where it's before and after, but I just think this is just fascinating. Now, an epidural baby is not going to, they actually tell you epidural won't affect the baby. Now I don't know how you can put drugs into a person's body and it's not gonna.
Yeah, they tell you, oh yeah, the drug won't affect, but then as soon as the baby comes, it's like, oh well, this baby's a little bit slower. Well, that's the drug speaking.
Isn't it just so neat how they're like little turtles looking for the ocean? Oh, there we go. No mom help, no nothing. Look at the head work. Look at all of this kind of thing. Now, I don't know who the heck can let their baby just lie there while you do nothing and watch this happen, because I just want to hug them.
But if you let them start lower on the belly, and as they kind of walk up a little bit, it's good for the mom too because it massages her uterus to contract quicker.
Yeah.
So, here's
Milk tray.
day 17.
Something like that. Don't kitties do that? They gotta-
Oh yeah.
So here's a baby now that can't find the breast. I would love to know. I would think that that's a C-section baby.
Well, you can see his head is a little. Usually when their head's
But see that
perfect.
shaking? It's and that's where I was saying with the nystagmus. And that's where I'm wondering if where all that's coming from is just
And why
again.
is she doing that with his arm?
She was trying to put his shirt on.
Well, he's got too big of an outfit to begin with. I mean, it should be.
Because he's trying to balance himself.
He gets tired.
Yeah. See, look, he's pooped. So now he's not going to feed or look
Well,
at
why
that.
wouldn't she help him?
They're trying to show you what it's
Oh.
like when a baby can't find the breast, what it looks like.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But that's my problem is everyone tells you what's wrong, nobody tells you how to fix it.
Yeah. There he goes. It's probably better that he does find it himself, I guess.
Yeah, but look at how he's.
Yeah.
That's what I was
And the
talking about, the
latches.
breathing,
Yeah.
and now he doesn't want to let go. He tends to be more of a hoarder.
Yeah, not a
So.
good match. Yeah.
But anyway, we can go on and on. But do those help you see the difference of what to start looking for? So I call it bright future. So you note the birth. You want to go through it. The score sheet this weekend. We can go over it. But, it's common sense stuff. But at least it helps the parents go. So basically, if you had natural delivery, no drugs, it's a 0. Win-win. You don't get any points for that. But once you start having interference, I hate to say it like that, but interference with the birth. But so if it's a C-section, it's a point. Now, how many days in the hospital, how many points it are. So what I'm trying to devise is a low-risk baby, a medium-risk baby, and then a high-risk baby. So just having an artificial birth or a surgical birth, especially with drugs, puts you at a different risk category. But can you see the movements clearly enough? Because obviously we can't sit there and watch a bunch of live births happen. It's just a completely different experience. Just that, and I think that's why a lot of babies too, especially if they're yanked foot first, they don't even know they're born. And that's where you come in, trying to create that birth experience. So just looking at Madison, going back to my little baby, and again, because she's responsive, I get it. The doctor's there to save this child's life and the baby, but to literally be like, where's, you know what I mean? And this is the one I was concerned about. He's here with the, and then, literally pulls the head up this way.
Yeah.
So lots of times too, I think that's where the head shape is off, because the vacuum here is now suctioning the skull part in, before they pull it out. So I think that's where, I hate to say it like with Ariana, that you'll see when you get the high back of the head. But again, I can't prove that. I would have to compare a bunch of, do you know what I mean?
Well, when you're going through the birth canal, your head is molded differently.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. But when you come out like that, that's where I see the babies with the higher head rise in the back. And I think it's because the belly, you know what I mean, and held on to the head.
And it's such a critical
changed the head shape.
You could just go like this with the new baby and you could put a dent. It's so...
Right. But now when you have that high head in the back, that's one of the biggest problems causing developmental delays, because now my whole rotation is off, especially for tummy time. So typically a baby learning to roll over will come, and this is an automatic counter, and the baby's head will go up while the pelvis goes down into the floor. Sorry, I have a floppy baby. But when you have that odd head shape, you'll see twist, 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 head still back here, head still back here, and then you'll finally see a lift. Or they can't do it at all because it's too hard to counter.
I think that big
high
head
head
comes from molding too long in the birth canal.
Well, again, there's many different reasons.
That's one.
But that's one reason,
Or
yes.
have it too high, though,
But I think with the C-section, when you're pulling it out like that, it's
I don't know anything
pulling
about that. Yeah,
on this.
sure, could be.
I've found that the kiddos
More
with
like
a
that.
high head like that
Or
are
C-section.
C-section.
You know more than me.
But I'm just saying, I can't necessarily prove it, because now I need to somehow know if every birth was that they were being delivered in that position.
Yeah, right.
But this is where I'm saying there hasn't been one study done of, okay, like, again, I know C-sections happen to happen, but I would think that to come in here,
Yeah, and pull them out
And
like that
scoop.
would be a lot. Yeah.
you know what I mean, kind of thing, versus grabbing a foot. Or ideally, if somehow you can get it where it's head first. But again, that's all going to depend on that baby's positioning. But again, if you're rotating, there's no stresses. So another thing, like I said, what I see is when they're like this, and the doctor pulls, and you have usually the one finger. Her nephew was like that, Noah, where he had the...
Wow.
And I'm just getting videos like that all the time. The first thing I said, is it a C-section?
Yeah.
So, but to note the birth, and again, not to say, oh, it's too bad you had a C. I mean, again, if it's like you got placenta previa, you've already had a C, I mean, what are you going to do? And also with birthing, unfortunately, we're all wiser 5 minutes after the fact. I shouldn't have done that. Well, And then to go right into to the assessment. I really believe the assessment should be done along with the APGAR. Again, if the baby's in distress, do that first. The assessment can wait, God, 3 months if you had to, but I mean, the sooner the better. But what I want to just show you too is a way of doing it. I'm going to go over it again with the baby on its back, but to show you how to do it this way with the mother.
Oh, yeah.
So now the baby actually could be nursing, you know, that kind of thing. And you're right here. I can easily just go, okay, right pelvis. Just note it. So if I'm nursing, or just holding my baby, however you want to do it, this position's great. I can easily, now again, some people are more rote, rather than stay on one side. I always make sure to see how the pelvis is doing. That's sort of where my home spot is. Other people, it's the head. Now, even in this position, I can even just slip my arm, and I'm already rotating the head out. Or I can come around this way and do it more manually. But this is a really nice thing to do, is like, wow, you know, but you could see how she would be much more preference, or she'd be available to nurse on this side. Whereas again, I'm switching out over here. And again, I'm not seeing that counter. See, that's where I was talking about the head rotation. The mouth should go down, the head should come back. Now, it might be where she's only rotating from the neck. And that's what that baby was doing when he was trying to find the nipple and couldn't find it. See the difference between that counter?
You could only get that far.
But looking at it this way, if the head can go this, see what I can do to find and latch on. But what that other baby was doing was twisting from the back. Just like I was showing on AJ before when I was working on the different ranges of rotation. So in this, look at how much momentum is coming versus, see how it's much more a guided rotation. So here again, I'm down on this side, but I can just very easily do the hip, just to see where it's at. I can hold it here and just do a light spine rotation. I mean, you could be a grandmother talking to your, you know what I mean? Nobody would know you're assessing a baby. This is a great Holly method, because Holly will go in. She'll be at church and just be like, hi guys. Rotating out the knee, rotating out the foot, kind of thing, just checking it out. Now again, from this position, you can go underneath and checking out the knees. Now for the pelvis here, you can just be here. Now, are you going to get full symmetry? No. But let me tell you, if that baby's either floppy or stiff, you're going to know it. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
So the touch is so light that I don't even think that you would even cross into this. But I wonder, does a baby kind of let you know, oh, don't do that, you know?
Well, yeah, you saw it with Sophie. When you did too much, they'll either what I call buck, or they'll almost fall. Because they can't handle the momentum of your touch. I'll be teaching you touch next.
Okay,
But
yeah.
as far as seeing it with water and that momentum.
Yeah.
So yes, they will respond. Now that being said, a dog could bark and they might just suddenly spasm. You know what I mean? Like babies aren't little seals that perform at your command type thing. Or if they're trying to nurse, but you just have to find a way.
I'd never want to, you know, push a baby's joint too far in a direction.
Yeah, there's no
unfamiliar.
pushing.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's like you're holding a strawberry and you're just I call it Lucille Ball with the cigars, wrapping the cigar. You just want this light.
Yeah, it's just.
And you'll feel like a stop. What do you call it?
Well, I call
Like
it
you'll feel a
glitch, but
glitch,
it,
like
it just, yeah.
Like, oh, I don't want to go past that for something. I don't like that. Or it's like
Yeah, just a strawberry. That helps me visualize what it would be like.
Yeah, because if you pick up a strawberry too far, or like, same thing too, like this, it's like patting dough. You don't want to, if you go too hard, you'll put a hole in the dough. So it's not like I'm kneading the dough, I'm just like trying to seal a dumpling kind of thing. It's almost as light, they used to say in Bhutan, it's like touching butter without leaving a fingerprint. Yeah. But little you can be, now it's harder to do the shoulder in this position, but if you wanted to, I can just, again, spinal rotation. There's a really easy way. The baby's still low. It can either go to sleep from here, or it can go into nursing. It's in a very neutral position. And then the parent can see. Now, that's the same thing too. So when I'm here and I wanted to, let's say, pass a child over to Holly or whoever, it's a neutral position. And those are the kind of things where too you would see a baby like startle. If they go into this where they're actually going into a moral reflex, now, yes, if a doctor sits there and examines a baby and just goes like this, they're going to get a moral reflex. But normally you wouldn't be holding a baby like that, right? So if I'm passing it to Holly, you know what I mean, or I'm just going to be rotating out, I can be here, I can be here. It's the rotation's very neutral on how to. So if I go to pass now and a child, let's say, is a pre-CP or has had birth trauma, and you're going like, oh, you better come over, you know what I mean? Like if I'm already making, if that baby won't rotate and spin out to her, or worse, like this baby, if I really let it, she's low tone, the arms also shouldn't be just hanging like this baby. We'll just see there's no, so you shouldn't see anything like that. So if I rotate, it's just, you want to protect the child. That's also, that would be a lack of rotation, a lack of response. So the only thing in this position, you might think, oh, there's nice rotation, or it really could be a floppy baby. So.
So when you're holding here, I love this because, but I don't know if it's going against or going with, all your body movements will be going opposite rotation and counterbalance with the baby. So
Well, in this
your
position-
elbows are, when you're moving the baby, do you know what I'm saying?
Right. In this position, it almost should be, we're one and one.
Same. Okay.
Same. So I'm not gonna necessarily rotate
if
the
you're-
baby away from me because then I'm,
And
just
you will
like
go
she's
with-
doing.
Or,
Yeah, so
okay.
always functional. But a newborn baby is not gonna rotate out.
Right.
So only a baby with problems will. So a newborn baby, if again, they've had birth trauma, oxygen, you'll see the rotation want to go out. So the startle will be there. Especially if they're just stuck. Like if they're in this position and not going anywhere, not a good sign. Same thing with the legs. They won't naturally do this. Where they will do this though, if they're coming up to bring the knees up, then it'll go out to allow, you'll see the knees go out this way. But you shouldn't see that.
Yeah.
And so that's where I get upset. Oh, baby should only sleep on their back. Well, now you're adding to this sort, you're just splaying out the hips. Because when a baby is sleeping on their belly, this is already pre-crawl. So any kind of glitch, guess what? Everything's going to go into a counter.
So like in your own life, you'd let your baby sleep, not like in their position of choice for the most part?
Listen, there's SIDS, they still don't understand a lot about it, but if you're just hanging out like this and my baby's sleeping, and it's like when they're afternoon, we're just talking, I think this is great to give them the tummy time
Yeah.
in this position, because I don't want 4 months from now for this to be the first experience a child's ever experienced going on their tummy. And then now you're getting into, quote, oh, my child has sensory or startle reflex. No. Where's the movement coming? I believe the movement comes somewhere to create the reflex, good or bad. So if you put a movement into that child's system and they respond, especially as almost like, it's almost, so if a child's back here and they're suddenly just going ATNR, right? It's almost like a protest.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere, so you just don't want to see that. Now, baby, if they're just sitting there, they're in and out of ATNR.
Yeah.
But it's not
What's 18R mean? What are the initials? I don't know.
anterior nerve, what is?
Anterior tension reflex?
Oh, that sounds about right.
Tension reflex?
Okay.
They're supposed.
I knew it was anterior reflex,
It's
and all
like
of a
the
sudden you
scarf
stumped
one
me.
when they're putting on the scarf. or they're gonna grow a scar.
Right.
If they don't, then there's a neurological issue.
Right, that would be a low tone. However, it should not be like a kickstand.
Yeah.
And so that's where when doctors don't know better and people go, oh, my baby's doing 18R, it's perfect. Yeah.
Not right.
But again, it should be like, oh, I don't want to get up in the morning and oh, you know what I mean? And see
Yeah.
my counter
Uh-huh.
and my counter. But if I've got torticollis, now 18R is really going to show up because I don't want my neck to come out. So I have to protect this contraction. Yeah. Same thing too. Now, obviously, this is where a parent has to come into play. Someone came to me, my kid won't ever go to sleep, and they were like one of my neighbors. Oh, good God, I'm like, turn down the TV. I mean,
Yeah.
no offense, I know you're all into like, you know, it doesn't matter, everybody can be sitting at the kitchen table, that TV's just blaring. I mean, you know, just
Everything's
blaring.
loud.
Yeah, everything's loud, and I'm like, turn down the TV. Well, that doesn't bother it. Well, did you ever think to find out? I mean, blaring, like, you know, there's a rock concert going on. So, you know, sometimes it is environmental. I mean, you've got to go a little bit deeper, but.
Oh yeah, start with environment for everything. I mean,
Might as well. Easier.
Well, then would you say that stimulation develops into issues with the movement because they're like,
Well, not only that, they
Okay.
could not then deter away from any kind of sound, because sound's a wave, and if that wave's creating movement through your body,
Right.
especially when, you know, if you're next to a car and you hear that doom doom doom, you know, put a baby in that because it's a very mathematical rhythmic, but at the same time, they're taking that wave. I just posted a really neat thing where a guy was jiggling his baby in the pool, and it's really cool though, sorry. I don't mean to look like I'm being a bit ADD here. Oh, here's an X-ray baby. So see the amount of movement he's doing? But see how he's not crossing over? So that's what I was saying. I don't like the animations per se because does that make more sense to actually see a real baby?
yeah, Karen Strange in her workshop showed a X-ray video like that where they're playing classical music, and then they play this like really like startling music, and you see the baby like immediately react to the startle in your.
Let me just. All right.
And the point is, you know, it's not just a blank slate the whole pregnancy. It's absorbing it just as much as you are.
Oh, here it is. Now this is slow mo. Well, look at his face and everything, right?
Would be a cancer.
See how the waves all go through it?
Buddha baby.
Oh, wow.
his cheek.
Oh, I can't stop looking at this.
He looks like a dog in the wind, you know, when they're out the window.
Wow.
That's a baby movement. Now he's on his own, he's sitting up and all this, and everyone thinks it's funny. This is how movement should go through your body. So just sound waves, yes, are going to be therapeutic, but at the same time disruptive. So either that child could also grow up wanting everything to be loud because they don't, silence might be almost a killer for them because they think that, because their brains aren't working.
Right.
When there's sound on and it's loud, you know, something's always going on. So, but if you all of a sudden are quiet. Oh, I can't even watch that. Sorry. Amazing what's on YouTube. So it's the same thing when you're like here. See? The movement goes through that child. So I do agree that, do they have to have the birth lights on that they do? Do they have to have, we can go again on and on about, but if that light's not on that one time and there's a problem and the doctor couldn't see it because of low lighting, I'm telling you, it's just a tale for. But what I'm trying to say is when these things happen, we have to start looking for our own counter. What can we do to change that situation? So I really believe if a baby, especially if they're fussy, they're already trying to tell you something.
Yeah, and don't pick the baby up and smack it. That's not what it needs.
Now, I went to Bhutan, and even the healthy babies are all wrapped like this. They wedge them, and they'll thrive if they're not moving. That's how to keep them medically stable, and a healthy baby. But a NICU baby, so that's where I'm really against. Some woman invented these gloves. They look like dishwasher gloves, and they go over the NICU babies, and I'm screaming. I'm like, the weight of those things on a brand new baby. How are they supposed to breathe? How are they supposed to? So if you have IVs, if you have pulse ox, if you anything that interrupts that jiggly baby, that movement that's meant to happen, their systems just start to shut down. So this baby here, if you can notice, if anything, the wrinkles on the child. Oh, so here I'll actually.
Just to check to see how her rotation is.
Sorry, I'm trying to blow it up, but I'll leave it alone. I think she was 8.75 grams, which is about 1 pound 4 ounces.
So you can see how the pelvis really isn't responding all that great. Coming into her hand.
It's easier to.
Her elbow.
They're translating in the background. A lot of these nurses either do Tamil or Hindi.
Just even the chest cavity.
Now, ready? Do you see how she's starting to respond?
So I'm going to go down and again, just a quick assessment, just so I can feel. Lots of times the left side is more affected, as you know, especially when they have the
Now, sometimes I can't get around the box for when they're,
pelvis on this side.
all the doctors are around me. I have to assess only from one.
But you can see
area.
how immediately this will stimulate them into movement. Even more so with her though, just going to look at her head. This is where a lot of the toracos and everything can come in.
Just that diaper is too much for that system.
But I'm just now going to come in. Now I'll just start and just feel her head.
But see already how that pelvis is lifting?
Yep. Fighting against that huge diaper.
Yeah, but at least the system knows it can. If you just left her lying there,
Very gentle.
again, I'll never be able to track babies. What does one lesson do and see them 5 years from now? What does 2 lessons do? But
Initiating just the sequencing of
someone said get twins and only work on one. And I'm like,
Wouldn't that be horrible?
just allowing for her system.
but already the strength that she has to go against that whole IV, everything wrapped, the diaper. So as you can see, I'm assessing and already starting to work.
These kind of little movements in her chest cavity into her pelvis. Just come in. You can already see how the pelvis is starting to go so much more.
Someone said,
Wow.
yeah, isn't that amazing?
All of a sudden she's a little
And see her
worm.
just
Jello
wagging her little
worm.
tail.
Yeah. If you touch these babies, it's just instant. When they're just born.
Baby only learns when they respond to stimulus.
But you
and if
see
they
how
can't
natural my
respond
touch is
because they
around their
can't
system.
move,
I didn't pick
or
her
their
up at
hands
all
are
once. It
tied
has
up.
to be
You're here to
that
save her
delicate.
life. I understand this.
See, there's that
The
strawberry
brain's gonna
hold.
learn that they can't respond to stimulus like it should.
I'm not putting my weight on that baby.
See how I use her body, her own comfort? I'm not stretching her in any way. I'm keeping her within her system. Just working on her movements.
I'm actually working on Madison as I'm watching this. I'm like, it's a damn doll.
I always get envious.
Envious of Madison.
I'm like, you could take a video of
She's just responding to my touch better.
I just think it's fascinating though, huh? You're getting my words. What I'll have to do though is just download the video, which I can, with the words, so they can catch up with both.
She's actually pushing me with a little bit more strength right now. So this is different from the massage therapy that people are talking about and they used to do. I'm looking for functional movement. I'm looking, she only learns by responding to stimuli. So if I touch her in a way that's purposeful, then her neural pathways start to develop. If she's just laying there and her only quote stimuli is environmental and not purposeful, she's learning a completely different way of formatting.
We're in India. I'm there in street clothes. I'm not even on an 875 gram kiddo. Can you see the differences though? In just
Especially after the first few seconds, doing the one full loop around, starting back over the second time, it's like a wiggle worm.
but just like I did with you guys. I really didn't give you guys a lesson. I just looped around and came back, and then it's like, oh. But with the phototherapy, especially in other countries, it's not like a whole umbrella. It's usually done from the side, and then so they have the headpiece on, and then the eyes are off to the side, and yeah, and
It's just that simple.
but they're not with mother. They're not being coddled. They're not being.
Of assessing baby.
And then again, if someone's crying, they're watching the demo. And these, to me, if my baby cried, first off, they got responded to because that's their language.
But I didn't know I was looking with my own son of years of therapy.
So, but like I said, we'll have a lot of babies this weekend. We had Sophie in this morning, and she was really something.
Amazing.
Cupcake, you really need to go to sleep. Yeah, do it both ways.
Oh, you do like this.
Do it however the whole point about it,
better to me.
it's what you're comfortable with. Right now, the first day here, I don't expect you guys to be expert in any way, shapes, or forms, nor am I out to correct you. I want you to start appreciating just the movement and the natural movement that's meant to happen in the child. And a child is, you know what I mean? It's when you give it its first foundations and that much more. Like you said, oh, now he's fighting the big diaper, but at least she knows she can fight the diaper. At least she knows she can start moving, even though those constraints are there. But if you take a nervous system, that same nervous system, even though the brain is somewhat healthy, but you're teaching them, you can't, just like an aging adult, when they start saying, oh, I can't go out at night drive, I can't go, they'll suddenly be in by 2:30 in the afternoon. The intelligent person says, well, sunsets around 6:30, I'm good to about 5:30, I better be home by then. But the paranoid person, the person who hasn't figured things out, starts saying, oh, I can go out to lunch, or I get a lot of seniors, I can only have one appointment per day. Two's too many. So if I'm already going to get my hair cut, I can't come to see you. You know what I mean? Like that's just a deal breaker for them. I'm just saying those, I know we're working on babies because that seems more logical, but when you say it about a baby, people go, they'll get over it. And it's like, how do you know? If the system's already fatigued and frail, and that's their day that they just go and give up.
Yeah. Just like the elephant.
Yeah, it's
Learns a lesson.
every movement is a learning opportunity, good or bad.
Yeah.
And
Where did you
also,
go?
if I teach you, so come here and put your back to me. So if I teach you that this is, you know, again, I could just be hanging out talking. But But see how that rotation in your spine is quite foreign to you. But I'm not touching you any different than I would a newborn. But you're certainly listening to my touch. Now do you see how that vertebrae is a bit more? Now notice too, Tracy, how Madison's feet are going around you. Again, that should be a common kind of thing that you're seeing, that the feet won't know what to do, but they're still responding to the stimuli of that arm around them, and they're going to counter-react to that touch. But again, if you start seeing the toe suddenly up all the time, or, you know what I mean, those again are just, you know, when you're in this position, just do this with their feet. You know, they'll really like it. Instead of saying, you know, your kid's not going to be able to walk if this person, you know what I. Now see how you're almost going low tone, like you're falling into, and that's what I wanted Sophie to do. See, that's why I was saying with Sophie, oh, that's great how she's suddenly finally doing this. It's that same nervous response. But that trust, you just start giving your movements. But again, I'm touching in a way that you don't know where you end and I begin. Right here, see, that's where you would start working with the sitting. See how I just rotate my hand and bring it right up.
Yeah.
Versus doing,
Yeah.
so that's where people say, should I do PT? Well, if that's what your PT is going to offer you, then the answer is no. Right? But if your PT goes, oh, there you go, sweetheart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes total sense.
That's an interesting thing too, you know, how your posture has something to do with it too. Yeah. You almost can't get her down like that if you're like this.
Well, again, but that's where we sort of brought up too, as well as being like, now imagine if you were trying to Facebook at the same time and doing selfies.
Oh, you couldn't do it.
I'm just,
Yeah.
if you're like here and, again, it's going to happen, but I think they're
Being
Okay,
regular.
so we're doing a handoff. We're doing a big handoff.
Oh, you are having.
yeah. But see how you want to protect it? It's a weird feel like, well,
You know, she could check out her neck right there, you know, right with her hand. I know in the book you say 2 fingers, but it's lighter than even 2 fingers. It's almost just a suggestion.
oh, like I said, if I just said, oh, you go like that, you've just examined your child. They're not going to, some people are going to need that. And I have to say 2 fingers versus 1 because it's still, at least if you're 1 finger, you tend to use way too much force and it's pokey. At least this distributes the weight more naturally. Because that's the biggest thing is people, when they finally get touched by me, they're like, it's really that gentle? You know, that's the
Yeah.
And then I want you guys to do Madison and the breastfeeding pool. But I thought Jiggly Baby's funny though. I mean, the way that the cheeks and everything. I mean, if you probably looked at a regular speed, it was just, you know, da 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 da. But you can see with the way the waves are, it rotates through the body, even that jiggle. And that was another thing, like I posted on my parents' board about like a jaguar, and they had him in slow motion, and when he landed, how it wasn't like these contracted muscles, the movement rippled through the body, and as they went to the next movement, it wasn't stop, start, which humans tend to do.
Unless they're that. Jesse loved the video of the Marine. He's like, I'm gonna do that. Can you take me to Michelle? Can I go to Michelle?
I'll have to show you Ash. I think I just posted Ash where I had him doing flips. But they're amazing little creatures, and they'll tell you so much if you let them. They really will. But that's the hardest thing too when I try and say something like Max, who was in the newborn assessment, my 5-week premature born with missing a third of his heart. He had open heart surgery when he was 6 months old. He was born 3 pounds 13 ounces. But when I say this work prevented him from going into cerebral palsy, and people are like, you can't say that because you didn't know. I'm like, I can tell you right now, this child was going into CP. There was no. But. You're more than welcome to hang out here with her, Joy.
Chris is going to be playing musical instruments.
Then, yeah, no, that has to. They do sensory stuff, so.
Oh, you're working. Just for a little bit. I want to give her, I don't want her to watch the iPad.
No, I understand.
But then I'm going to steal her if there's like movement lesson stuff. So I can do it while you're doing it.
Good job.
You're a natural.
I was gonna have a little girl, and that was gonna be her name. So this is my girl.
Aww.
Good.
I'm doing the breastfeeding or I'm doing on the table.
You can do both, whichever you want to feel comfortable with. But I want you to feel what it's like to assess them while they're. You don't necessarily have to be breastfeed, but in this position, holding them, just feel what it's like. How you can do an assessment. I feel like I should almost show that video again now of the baby that can't find the breast to see if you can see it. Should I do that?
Yeah. Because, you know, the way I keep trying to frame it in my mind, but not, is if you're not looking for resistance from the baby. You're
No.
looking for just where they need to learn. Or where there could be an opportunity to learn. Now this is where this is the extent at which
cesarean
you're
section.
capable.
And not only that, but just to see what they could be just doing better, but to see the movement. But most people see what the person or the child's doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But having It was like,
Can't find the breast.
well, her arm was way down. Right.
Hold on. Actually,
It was. Instead of routine.
okay, so I'm gonna slow this down even.
She's not.
Yeah,
moving.
see right there. So look at how far back his head is to now come up and
Oh,
over.
he's lifting there, right?
Yeah, right there. And so the tongue is up.
Oh.
So he's like, now see, this is what I talk about. See the lack of counterbalance? So the turning is more the back of the head.
Oh, here.
So he's like this.
The back of the head versus
The whole,
the whole. Oh, okay.
I'll try and find then a typical breastfeeding baby, but I want you to see here the more of the movements where the head is relationship to the rotation.
He's not really rotating.
No, that's the whole point. And he's flailing his arm. But this child's 17 days old, and he's still.
Oh, he.
I want to just take that nightie off.
I get it, but I'm just saying, we
Yeah.
see the topical things, but
Mhm.
this is where we're already missing that whole boat.
Yeah.
He
On a
can't
typical-
turn his face this way.
Yeah, he can't.
That's what it is.
Because he's in lift mode.
Yeah.
That's what I said, when they lift, then they can
Yeah,
rotate.
lift mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He comes up like this, but
And he's
because if he could
almost-
feel it on this side, I think he could go back on it. You know, don't you?
I think there he's feeling it a little bit, but he's
Mhm.
still.
He's trying to get traction to pull himself up.
Mhm.
He's focused on the lift.
Yeah.
But it's
And they're
amazing
not
that they
meant to
already learn,
multitask.
or they're trying
that
to
way.
learn to lift just to
Well, he won't.
do it.
Yeah, but he shouldn't, feeding shouldn't be that difficult.
No, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Now, they did this video to show what it's like.
I think she has him in a bad position to begin with. I mean, don't you? I mean, like,
I
think she has. I don't. I think she has him back here already. When
Yeah,
you know,
but
he's
yes
not
and
in the
no,
middle.
a typical baby,
Would have done it. Would've
they
done
would have tilted off
it.
their
Oh
pelvis.
yeah, they would have gotten this. Yeah.
See, now he's tired. See, now the fight's gone.
It's like they should never do that to a baby. They should never let that go that far. You know.
But most people are like, so what? I'm telling you, look at that, see? He's
Yeah,
just
poor baby.
passing out. Again, I have this in slow motion, but look at what's going on in his system. Now, my brain can see that, whether it's even on fast speed. So now he's getting a little bit more, he's coming in for the second fight. He still is now, his tongue, look at his tongue, now his tongue's going into,
Yeah.
and oh, what more effort. So now she's gonna start coming into play and bring him into position because he can't do it on his own. Again, this is only a minute, 18-second video. I put it down to the slowest play to a quarter play, but do you see how much work it is? This kid still hasn't gotten any, nada. See, she's starting to nudge it a little bit. But he won't eat as much as he could have because he's already just, she's exhausted, yeah. And like she said too, he'll clamp on harder on the latch and he'll sort of act more like a hoarder.
And he's trying to get a deeper latch, but he just can't. He can't dig into it with his rotation. Yeah.
And now the nose is also in a bad placement because he'll have breathing issues. Yeah, that's normally where you'd have to go in and dimple the breast to allow them, because they're also eating straight on. So let's see then if I can find. See already the head positioning on this child. Now I don't know how old he is, but see where the nose placement is. So again, I don't think. He can't be that old because the hands are still fisted and even where the feet are at, so.
If you do another search in the bar, you might add laid back breastfeeding. That might be more open chest.
Still see too on this, it's more tummy time, but again, that's, yeah. I'm just gonna take it. Okay, maybe for Merry Christmas breastfeeding Santa baby, that's like. Are you guys okay with this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna turn this off to normal speed. And then we'll go back to regular. Not all of them I can get bigger, I don't know why.
Got a great strawberry hole. I gotta remember that.
What?
That strawberry hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's such a,
so now,
you can really see it when you do it. Yeah.
I think this is baby's probably had some drugs,
Oh yeah.
you know. The skin coloring and just see, it's not an instant feed, so he's just kind of laying there
A lot
chilling
of
out.
yeah, you just see it in the hand, just lethargic. And there's the hat, of course.
Now, why do they have to do that right off the bat? Like, what's the,
They think
Keep
it's
them warm.
yeah, and it's
yeah,
like
but, like, why can't you at least just feed the child first without getting everyone just... But it's almost like, I hate to say it, it's the baby, it's like a dumb baby. I'm picking up this letter, that's what Angie used to refer to as Sophie. She's just a dumb baby, but, I mean, he just doesn't know, or she.
But
it was-
yeah, he's
does
wide
not know
awake.
Yeah, but you see the,
Yeah, he's just like, I'm wide awake,
I
but I don't know
feed,
what
I
to
don't
do.
feed, but it's like someone who is on drugs, and whether it's an epidural or it's, yeah, whatever, there's just not, so if you go back to here, I'm not even gonna put him in slow-mo, because he's almost in slow-mo. Before we did the breast crawl.
The other baby's way over, totally.
These, I just think, I could just watch these all day. And that's the breast crawl. So they just put the baby down. Now this one's even harder. Look how big this baby is. Good Lord.
that's big.
It's like the kind of kids I put out. But see how they're in crawling position? And he's thinking about it and he's chilling out. But see also too, the way he's already hand placement, he's getting that bilateral counterbalance and all of that. See how he's trying to crawl? Look at all the foot movements this kid's getting. Do you see the difference just in that experience? And she's hardly doing anything to the child. Now you'd think he's looking at the camera going, what the heck? But he's not alert, but I'm really impressed with his eye opening. So he's had no drops.
Right.
Yeah. It makes so much sense. I just saw an elderly couple walk by and they were holding hands for balance, you can kind of tell. And that makes so much sense. Just if someone's teetering and you just barely give them just that much to bounce off of, they can rebalance themselves completely.
But coming under the arm versus over, it makes even a bigger difference. But I swear, it's hard for me to have my table like this where I can see, because I want to run out to everybody. This is where I need Holly all the time, just give out my cards. The place you're going to is not helping you. Can you please come in here?
With the lab, here's the directions to the lab, and here's a card from Michelle. These are our
You can tell you've done a lot of this, children.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
But look at this already. Look at this child come in now. Look at the finger function. Look at what this child, the difference, and versus that other baby.
He's even giving. He's like,
Yeah, really learning how to manipulate their environment.
there's no lift there at all. It's
No, there
just-
isn't. But look at what he's doing with the
Just
whole spine.
rotating,
His
yeah.
whole.
Yeah, he doesn't.
There he
even-
goes.
Oh,
But you're right, he's
beautiful
more laying
flange.
over.
He was actually pawing with his little hands trying to get the breast tissue over. Look at those hands come out. You know what I mean? The difference. And even though there's no lift, he still is holding his head well in this position where the other baby was like, you know, that's a suck. Look at those eyes. Upper quadrant vision going in already. I mean, but they look at this only for nursing, for nutrition. I don't think they look at this really for the movements. And this is where I want to break down just that initial documentation of breastfeeding, just those in a more scientific way. Do you see the difference? So I think that's where papers have to be reintroduced and stuff. Here, this guy, he's a little bit smaller, and then we'll go back off the videos and back on too. Here's his little bugger.
He's just rotating back and forth.
Look at him crawl. That's what a baby should do at birth. Now, usually what they do,
He's searching. He's searching.
I call it looking for truffles.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
See, again, look at that suck.
Rudy.
So. Okay, so
Yeah, washing the baby. It's always odd.
but it's neat to see this. See the
Cute
difference?
baby.
But look, the difference in movement. But they said this was a medicated baby,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they took him away to wash him.
Yeah, but just the drugs are like. I mean, you could just. So now the mom's trying to help, so watch this.
Oh, cute baby. Oh.
Now again, why would you try and set up a baby when he's just was born, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah. Moms are so baby phobic. They just don't know what to do. They just don't see it anymore. People hide their babies away. We're just not used to seeing.
Well, why not let the baby rest? I mean, so what if they don't suck right away? I mean,
No, but I'm just saying though, if they don't though, I'm just talking about, look at the developmental movements.
Yeah.
Going back to, because they're saying that these are the crawl reflexes, but I'm looking at it, it's not so much the crawl reflexes, but, you know,
It's a learned behavior.
so
That
this
if
is
they're not-
10 hours after birth.
He's hungry.
He's
He's
But,
mid.
he wants food more than sleep.
but they're just saying that it's,
Now he's doing the lifting there,
yeah.
trying to lift back.
So they'll say like, oh, you left the hospital, you're breastfeeding, win-win, everything worked out. But I'm just saying, when those movements didn't happen, you could already see the quality of movements is different. This child, even though he was successful, versus this little sucker. I mean, this one looks like he's already 2 weeks old. The way he's just climbing Mount Everest. Look at that. Look at the pelvis tilt. Look at how he's opposing. Look at that going on.
Pushing through.
And I
I mean,
get
almost
it.
like Sophia.
Right. I get it that muscles work then, but just the quality of the movement versus something like this. Do you see the,
It's more like a typical baby here, it looks like to me.
yes, but at the same time, that first baby, when you wonder later on why it was good at sports and good at whatever, to actually say, well, that's because you got to do the breast crawl, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and most people be like, oh, you're crazy. No, I believe that what we're doing, like even what we did with Sophie, just from her lesson today of what that did, you know what I mean? She got such an interesting exposure. All right, this I gotta see. We okay with this?
Mm-hmm. Oh, gentle C-section.
So is it a gentle?
The baby will crawl out of the belly from a C. Are you guys okay watching this?
Yeah, I think it's
This is new.
very new and very, you know, welcomed by certain providers and then totally, you know,
No,
I was gonna say controversial.
controversial.
I've not even
yeah.
seen it. I did not.
What are
know
your
that.
thoughts?
I'm off anything that helps.
As long as they're
Now,
doing fine.
I've never seen a baby crawl out of the womb, so I think a little bit of help would be great because,
But yeah, look how he's still trying. He's getting.
but look at the
roll
full
on.
shoulder rotation and all of this and
Oh my gosh! And he's pushing out.
Yep.
what a baby's capable of doing is just remarkable.
And it's even better for mom too.
And he's crawling instead of being tugged.
Now,
sure
I don't know
it's more
who was the
gentle.
first person to say, we're just gonna slice you open and let this thing crawl out. And you're gonna be like, what?
Well, once you get the baby out, I mean the head out, you feel a little more. I don't know.
If I saw this, I'd be like, oh my
I'd be like,
god.
"Ooh,
when you watch
just
that
get
baby
the
deliver
out."
itself through a C, I mean that's like
Yeah. Jeez.
it says a lot about what's happening when you do tug the baby out.
That's really interesting.
And then they still do.
And so he's still getting the pressure.
Now, one of the things that AJ was talking about, which she doesn't care for, is what they do is that what they did there is they put the baby up way too high, instead of putting it now right here and letting the child sniff. Because when you put it up here, she thinks it's which is less bonding for the parent, and then the child doesn't know what to do.
missing the point. It's not there yet.
And a mom would never normally deliver and put the baby here. She wants to be looking at the baby down here.
Let me also see Madison
But
for a
then
second.
she's in shock and it's like just okay. that's
Honestly,
they
what is
want.
happening and the baby wouldn't be experiencing is, so let's say the mommy's lay on the chest, I can lay you guys down too on the table, because the head position is going too low. So again, if that baby has issues with breathing, sucking, swallowing, and all of that, they're already starting to stiffen or react to this kind of position. Where is it the baby's more on the belly, and especially when the mom obviously has fuller breast because she's just, she's starting to produce milk. I look like I could have fed half of a country, but you know what I mean? That they're already almost in this position naturally.
Yeah.
So again, look at the spinal fluid of that versus
You're
here.
right, and on the shoulder they're almost arching more
Right.
over, and the head is starting to tilt forward.
And so if you get in a certain position
You're right.
where you go into this, just to adjust, now you've killed the rotation on the pelvis.
Yeah.
Whereas on the belly, as the breasts move or mom laughs or does, they're getting much more of that counterbalance through the mom's pelvis.
I bet they even feel like you said the contractions, because I mean the uterus goes from here, so you have to, if you're a little baby, you have to feel on the outside that's still
Yeah.
going.
Oh yeah.
So it could, and it helps to push them or.
Well, the contractions, so I'll contract Madison. So what the contractions do, right? So you're like this. This is the first time you're actually feeling pressure on your system. Up until then, that's why the cord's not supposed to be wrapped around the you're not supposed to see this kind of thing or this or any kind of crossing over. The baby has not experienced any kind of pressure. So the movements that are going to be going on in the womb are going to be this way. So they'll spasm here, but usually 2 feet together because there's no torque in the pelvis. They'll do that kind of thing, or they'll do that like a spasm, right? But you're not going to see where anything like this, you shouldn't see where they're crossed over. So when the contractions start to happen, now they should be more like this. I can't wrap totally Madison up, but it's that pressure and then release. But that's a scoot, that's a crawl, that's a walk, that's the initiation of a feeling of force and then opposing it. So then when, like with me, where I had the contractions were so intense and then they didn't back off, this kid was literally like this and starting to reverberating. So instead of him being able to come back to me, he just went out. And even though I wasn't ready to have him, that pressure, I was basically just squeezing him out of my body. And he needed a relief and had to come out. Now, I didn't, also because of the trauma I had, I couldn't nurse him right away even I wanted to. The first person actually to hold Graham was my mom. Even my husband, because he was so busy taking care of me because now I needed medical attention. Mine was minor, but still I needed to be stitched up just the wrong end than a C. So, but again, who would have thought? But now, this is where I'm a lot smarter. Graham's sugar, maybe you know more about this, went down to 19 when he was born. And they're like, that's not right, because he should be making noise or shaking or whatever, and he wasn't. So they're like, oh, the machine's broken. So they're all standing around like this, waiting for this machine to show up. Oh no, his sugars really are at 19. We've got to formula feed him. But they never got the doctor. They were ready then to say, oh, we've got to put him in the NICU. And then all of a sudden, after some formula, his sugars went to 47. They're like, oh, good, we don't have to worry about it. But I still wonder why that my Graham went into sugar depletion at birth, that if that had started the side effects that he's had, but also the fact that I don't think the doctor was ever told. I don't think it was noted in his medical records.
It's pretty common for babies' sugar to drop. Well, unless sometimes they miss a diabetic. But if they don't feed right away, they need that sugar.
He was feeding.
Yeah, so that shouldn't have happened, really.
But he was that big of a baby, he might have been.
Well, Graham was 7'15" and
Oh,
Gordon
that's-
was 8'9", but Gordon was the one with the head size that was like this. So we had this cute little baby washer. She was like your size, no offense. And she was bringing back this baby, and the baby started to cry. In the middle of the hallway, she picked up this baby and said, I can't bring you back to your mommy. Like, she was so sweet. This was down at St. Joe's. You can't go back crying, please, please. And she's in this hallway crying to comfort this baby. Now, the head shape on this child, I swear to God, was like that of maybe a large lemon. And I looked down and I said, good God, what did I give birth to? And she looked at me like I was just some insane mother. Gordon's head was 14, so this is 16 inches. So Gordon's head was this big, born. And I swear to God, it looked like I just, like half a grapefruit, watermelon, something. And his head was this, It's even bigger than Madison. And this was his abdomen. Like there was no, he was like equal. I thought he was going to grow up like Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
And
To the blood sugar, from what I know and have heard, it's really, feeding doesn't have to happen right away to regulate the blood sugar. It's the body temperature and being
Yeah,
on
that's
you
true.
right away that helps regulate the body temperature, and then the blood
oh,
sugar
maybe
follows.
because I had surgery, that I had to be stitched up or whatever.
So
I guess
when they
it's
take
considered
them right
surgery,
away-
right? When they're sewing up your
yeah.
butt.
Yeah.
So,
There's so many factors that could play into that.
oh, and then my doctor's like, hold still. So now I'm on an OR thing. I just delivered a baby, and I swear to God, the table's like this big. And I'm getting sewn up by an assistant, like he's teaching. And so he's trying to tell me to be calm. And I was like, you rip something out of your butt and tell me to. I was
Yeah.
just, so the nurses were just rolling. That was the only time I yelled during my delivery.